The problem we're discussing is how to attach cabinets in, say, a kitchen to the floor in such a way that a vinyl or composite flooring can move, expand and contract either from moisture or temperature. I'm not an expert. A friend has this problem, and I think I have a solution. I have never seen this discussed on YouTube, so here we go. Again, I'm not an expert. I have this problem where I had to attach cabinets to a floor of this kind, and I did it wrong back 15 years ago, and there's buckling. I think the solution I've come up with here will solve the buckling problem and allow the floor to move either from temperature or humidity. So I've got a mock-up here. This stands in for the cabinet. And here is 2x2, either 2x2s or 2x4s can be used as cleats to hold the cabinet down to the subfloor. And so the trick is to allow the flooring to move between the cabinet and the subfloor. Now, when it moves, there's a lot of force. So it's not like the weight of the cabinet by itself is going to stop things. So the trick I've come up with is to use plastic. Now, normally, this is a stand-in for the correct kind of plastic. There's plastic you can buy, 1 mil or whatever, that's nice and slick. It's very cheap. This is 1 foot wide, 1 mil by 360 feet, which ought to do all the cabinets you can imagine. And it's $6. So that's a nice cheap solution for the plastic. The plastic goes between the cabinet and the flooring to lubricate it, if you will. So when the flooring moves, it slides between the subfloor, which the flooring is already designed to move against the subfloor. What it's not designed to do necessarily is move against the cabinet. But this slick polyethylene plastic ought to be fine. So then the other problem is, the idea of how to fix, say, an island down to the floor would be to put cleats on the floor and screw them down to the subfloor, and then put the cabinet over those cleats and screw through the cabinet kick surface into those cleats. And again, 2x2s or 2x4s are fine. Now, the problem is, if you just do that, if you just screw these down, then you've frozen the flooring to the cleat and to the subfloor, and then you'll get buckling on either side. So my idea would be to not only use the plastic to allow the flooring to move, but to make the holes to pre-drill holes in the flooring to allow for movement. Now, the flooring, I don't think the flooring moves very far. Maybe somebody knows better, but I think a 1/2-inch hole using a Forstner bit ought to be fine. I would use a Forstner bit because that allows you to control the fact that you've drilled only through the flooring and not into the subfloor, because you want the screws that you're using through the cleats to grab the subfloor. It doesn't need to grab, the screws don't need to grab the cleat. The holes through the cleat can be large, not sloppy, but loose. They don't need to be tight. All we're doing is holding the cabinet to the floor so it can't be pushed aside or lifted. Now, with a granite top, we're unlikely to have a lifting problem. You know, granite tops weigh hundreds of pounds. So that's not going to be the issue. So let's show us here what I'm talking about. Say we're going to drill 2 holes in this cleat to hold a cabinet. First of all, we drill the 2 holes in the flooring with the Forstner bit. And again, you just want to go through the flooring to the subfloor. You don't need to go below that. So let's make 2 holes. Okay. So now we need holes in the cleat that we're going to use to hold the cabinet down. So let me get and just mark the cleat where I need to drill a cleat. And all I have to do is hit those holes, not at the edge, but roughly in the center. And then we're going to use a bit that's large enough that the screw will be not free in the hole, but the screw's not tight, not threaded through the hole. All right, so let's do this. So I've marked my cleat, so let's just drill it. And again, you're probably not going to drill it on against the flooring. All right, so there's 2 holes that match up with the larger holes in the flooring. So now I can screw the cleat down to the subfloor. Now, I forgot the plastic. So we're going to put plastic down over this at this point. Probably drill all the holes first and then lay the plastic down. Now we don't want to make a barrier, a vapor barrier. So we're not going to cover all of the area under the cabinets with plastic. That needs to breathe. We don't want moisture buildup under there. All we want to do is lubricate the edges of the cabinets. So that's why the 1 foot wide ought to be fine. Okay, so we're going to let it hang, the plastic hang beyond the cabinets, right where the cabinets go. Okay, so screws through the cleats into the holes in the subfloor and screwed down. And again, not terribly tight. We want everything to move. Okay, so there can be some slop in there. Well, maybe not slop, but we don't need it to be all screwed down tight. We want the floor to move under there. As you can see, the floor is slipping, moving. The flooring is moving above the subfloor. Okay, now how do we attach the cabinets? That's simple. We just set the cabinets on after we've got the cleats and the plastic down. We drill holes through the toe kick into the cleat or to the cleat. And again, these holes can be large. Use the same bit. Can be large in the toe kick. We don't mind if that moves. We just need it to be tight into the cleat. And depending on how accurate you place the cleats, I mean, I would leave some space. It's okay. If there's a gap between the cleat and the toe kick or the back of the cabinet or whatever, an island has toe kicks all around, is my assumption. But, you know, there can be some gaps there. It doesn't matter. All we're trying to do is keep the cabinet from slipping when somebody leans on it. So there it is. It's tight. But the floor underneath, as you can see, I'm moving the floor underneath between the cabinet and the subfloor. Now all you do is take a knife, package knife, and cut this plastic off at the toe kick all the way around the cabinet before you put the front plate on, whatever you call that, the baseboard. And notice we haven't cut the flooring. So we don't need to match this, you know, perfectly. No cut in the flooring, so that has to be matched with the outline of the cabinet. That we don't want to have happen, right? We don't want to have to match a cut because the flooring will then move. Then we'll have to put a baseboard over that. It's all a big mess. So I think, again, I'm not an expert. I have not tried this idea for real, you know, but I think this will work. Thanks very much.